Welcome to the Folio Sightlines blog. I'm Greg Vigras, President of Folio Institutional, and I'm glad to have with me today Ryan Shanks, founder and CEO of Fine-Tooth Consulting. Ryan started Fine-Tooth Consulting in 2006 because he saw a need for advisors to have someone represent their interests in the market, much like the representation of an athlete by a sports agent. Fine-Tooth Consulting provides transition planning, outsourced recruiting, and acquisitions and succession planning to financial advisors, registered investment advisors, and broker-dealers across the country. Hi, Ryan. Great to have you here with me today.
Hey, Greg. Thanks so much for having me.
Ryan, I'm sure you're seeing a lot of advisors thinking about going independent today. We're seeing this too. What are the primary reasons an advisor goes independent today?
Oh, gosh, that's a great question. You know, the drivers that we're seeing for the advisors, you know, that are not only evaluating, but actually, you know, pulling the trigger and making the move it's multifaceted. You know, the reason may be that they want, I think the most common, you know, assumption out there is that it's more income. And that certainly can prove itself to be true. You know, a lot of it's around, it's maybe not so much what they're running to, but what they're running from. They're looking at the current environment where they're working, how they're servicing the clients, restrictions that are applied to them. And they're really questioning that is that in the best interest of the client. So, you know, it's kind of almost sort of a fiduciary self check that am I capable of doing what's best for my clients in this environment? And so that's driving a lot of it, because once you leave a captive environment and go out into the independent environment, it's super complex. You know, you have to learn a lot. You have to then translate all that back to the way you've been doing business and determine where the pieces fit. So, you know, compensation is one of them. I think it's ownership. It's enterprise appreciation for some. They want to create an independent company that they can then continue to focus on the client model, grow. They'll then have an asset that they can actually sell in the future. That's a huge driver of it. You know, so those are some of the big drivers on what's the motivating them.
Given that, when you speak with a registered investment advisor that is looking for a new custodian, what do you find that they're seeking from their custodians these days?
That's changed a lot through the years. You know, it used to be that, you know, can the assets be held there? Is the reporting going to be relatively accurate? You know, and then how are fees sort of flowing out to me? It's all really changed. It's all really changed and the way we position it to the clients we serve, the advisors, is where you custody your assets is a business partner. You need to evaluate the needs you have as a business. Then look out into the marketplace with that overlay. And you need to sort of benchmark those folks across the board. So we're seeing folks looking for lead generation has really been kind of the trending topic over the last 3 to 5 years. You know, about custody with you, is there an opportunity for me to step into a lead scenario where, you know, retail clients are being sort of screened and maybe can be kicked and referred to my company and we can acquire new assets. So we both win. That's a significant piece and becoming really competitive in the space. Some of it's around lead generation on the inorganic basis, that if I custody with you, what do you have in place to help me get in front of other advisors that I might attract and recruit to my RIA? Are you able to be a resource to maybe help identify other RIAs that custody with you that I might be able to acquire if they're looking for succession? You know, so it's really looking at, it's, you know, some of the things that below the line are almost sort of commoditized. There's the expectation that everybody does it. They all do it relatively well, and the pricing is all similar. It's above the line that starts to drive the differentiation, where a lot of these folks are looking to try to see, you know, what they can capture from it. And when we go in and we peel it back with the clients that are the RIAs and evaluate what those partnerships look like for them, oftentimes, you know, the folks who've already been the RIA just don't know that maybe there's certain leverage that they have, right? To be able to go and say, hey, I got $1 billion in assets on your platform. It's okay for me to ask, can you do these things for me? These are things that I'm looking to do. So those are some of the big items we see.
That's great. Thank you. One of the things we see, just as a follow-up question here, is a lot of emphasis being placed by advisors these days on one of the growing trends in the market, which is the digital engagement phenomenon, this sort of move to make sure that technology is able to support the ways in which clients are looking to engage with advisors and the ways in which advisors are looking to reach out and touch entirely new generations of clients. Are you seeing this as a consideration when advisors consider a custodian?
Yes, I am. On the custodian level, I think that it's becoming a little bit more and more mainstream, but it's not mainstream yet, right? There's this perception by advisors that the technology, the robo, if you will, just can't touch what I do. When in reality, it very much so can touch what they do. And in often cases, it can do it at a fraction of the cost. So I think what it's doing is it's calling out the folks who've sort of historically always done business a certain way that, listen, you're going about justifying that these are all the different things you do for your clients, so therefore your fee is X. Whenever you distill it all down, there may not be a whole lot of value they're providing. So it's really holding them accountable. And if you're going to earmark a fee that you're going to charge a client and you're going to have it listed in the ADV, you better be able to justify the fee to the solution you provide to them. And so then on the technology front, it's significant. It's an ability for you to drive. And I'm seeing some of the RIAs looking at it as just sort of a kind of a low-hanging fruit, sort of a conduit to a next generation ideal client, if you will. So they may say, my minimum client's $500,000 or $1 million. But if I've got an online portal here that doesn't require the time and the resources that I've empowered and hired, it covered, the infrastructure, I can do it at a fraction of the cost. And so, but one of the other things that I think is really important, I'm not sure the marketplace is really looking at it accurately, is that a lot of this is tied to generational habits. You've got an advisor that's in their 60s and they're sort of doing it the way they've always done it. Going in and trying to view adopting something like that just may never happen for them. And as a result, a client that's 30 may never work with that advisor that's 60 for that gap in how they're able to communicate. And I think that's where maybe the younger advisors and these wealth management companies that are run by more innovative and forward-thinking entrepreneurs are willing to look at it and harness the technology.
Thank you. Ryan, it's been great speaking to you today. I do have one more question, and it's really predicated by some of what you just said. What else excites you about the next generation of RIAs? It sounds to me like you've given this some thought and you have a real passion and interest around where registered investment advisors are really headed.
It is fascinating, and the RIA piece of the industry as a whole is really what's growing rapidly, and I think has really got the biggest kind of bullseye on its back. Meaning, I think a lot of advisors are sort of looking at it and aiming that that's what they want to become. It's the technology piece of it is incredible. To be able to think that these firms can go about leveraging the technology to interface with clients at a fraction of the cost, to automate a lot of the things that they've historically done through personnel and process. That's intriguing. But I think what's also intriguing is just what you're seeing around other offerings in the marketplace, apps that are out there that are allowing for folks to be able to, interface and invest in the marketplace that are, they're causing RIAs to look at them and view them and determine, do I align with one and harness it and empower it in my practice, or do I just continue to try to go about doing what I'm doing? So, it's a fascinating place. It's the thing that I always laugh about is $1 billion in AUM is the new 100 million. It used to be that, if you reached 100 million, that was something. You could really hang your hat on that and you could golf for 4 days out of the week. And a lot of RIAs were doing just that. It's changed. I think the other thing that's changed in the RIA industry is that because of the aging population of advisors in general, it's been trending upwards around this desire to acquire and that being the way to grow. And so that's really fascinating to me because I see a tremendous amount of folks in the industry that are very naive, that think that because you raise your hand and say, I want to grow by acquiring the same way that this firm that has $10 billion is acquiring, isn't as easily done as it is seen. And so I'm fascinated to see how that continues to trend as we move forward.
I couldn't agree more. I'm excited to see the changes in the coming years. Ryan, I'd like to thank you very much for spending some time with me today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
You got it, Greg. I really appreciate you having me.
We've been speaking with Ryan Shanks, founder and CEO of Fine-Tooth Consulting. If you'd like to receive more insightful tips about growing your business, sign up for Folio Institutional's blog at info.folioinstitutional.com/blog.
Neither Folio Institutional, its parent Folio FN Incorporated, or its sister companies have a contractual relationship with today's speaker or his firm. Folio has not compensated our speaker in any way for this interview.